ever wondered why an average Nigerian guy is never hesitant to say, I love you to a woman, but we feel so much hesitant to say, I love you, bro, to a fellow man? If you grow up in Nigeria, you would already know this. Men don't say, I love you, bro, to each other, not to their fathers, not to their brothers, not even to their closest friend. I've never had my dad say it to his sons. I never had my dad say it to his own brothers. And I also never had my brothers saying it to, each other, not even to their closest friend as well. I don't think it's something to say. It sounds a little bit awkward to me. Because in my family, I think I've felt the strongest of love, stronger than what three-lettered, word could offer me. For me, loyalty, sacrifice, showing up for each other and being there for each other, that's what I call love. That's what keeps family together, not three letters. But here's the kicker. We are living in the diaspora. In Germany, in Spain, this habit is normal. You hear people saying, te amo, I love you, bro. In Germany, you see people hugging their fellow men and saying, I love you, bro. Even in Spain, men do kiss on the cheek, saying te amo, things like this. But seriously, this shows affection, and it is also a loud affection. But now, we are giving birth to kids in the diaspora. These children are living in African-oriented family setting at home, and they are also living, in another culture in their environment where they have to live like the Westerners, and they get to see their friends doing this thing. Imagine carrying that Nigerian cultural silence out there, and seriously, this is a whole lot of things, because for me, I think the problem is not about saying it, because we have been taught, to love people or to show love in a different way. This problem is a little bit of everything: masculinity, culture, upbringing, misunderstanding. Because seriously, it is not something very, even to me, it's a bit awkward to say. Today, we are unpacking this, this thing. Why Nigerian men don't say, I love you, bro, and what that silence really means. Is this something we should adopt? Is this something we should break? Is this something to just leave, people to whatever works for them? So whatever works for you, do. If you think that you want to say I love you to your fellow man, it's okay, then do it. Let me know in the comment section below what you think. Does it feel awkward to you? Because we are going to unpack it just as it is. Hi, my name is Micheline. Welcome back to the Diaspora Seat. So today, this episode, I am loving every bit of it because I never knew this, and somebody just introduced me to it, a Nigerian man telling me that this is a little bit awkward to him. Let's talk about it. You know what they say, when people migrate, they carry everything, alongside with them. They carry their culture, they carry their habits. So culture is people's way of life. So Nigerians are no exception. So they carry this culture of, of this thing to the place where they are going to, So even in the diaspora, surrounded by cultures that normalize this kind of things, this kind of loud affection, the silent code for Nigerians remains: don't say it. At birthdays, farewells, or even weddings where local men might hug each other and say, I love you, man. I love you, bro, te amo, and they kiss on the cheek. A Nigerian man will simply give you a firm handshake and or even a clap on the back, and tell you, that's it, I'm behind you, just let me know when you, let me know when you need me. The love is there, understood, acted upon, and never spoken. That's the thing, this silence becomes part of our identity abroad, almost a badge of authenticity. I am Nigerian, and this is the way we do things. For me, this is really normal, but for some people, it might be a little bit awkward. For me, it is normal because seriously, when I tell my mom, because I spent most of my time in Spain, when I tell my mom, I love you, mommy, she's always hesitant to say, I love you there. But I think now she is getting used to it because now I am telling my daughter most of the time, I love you, baby, and my baby is always like, had taken up this culture. I love you, mommy. I love you, mommy. This kind of thing, and she is being manipulative about this whole thing because when she wants something, she's always coming. I love you, mommy. I love you, mommy. So I'm kind of like being a little bit, skeptical about this whole thing, but sometimes this can create walls, children raised abroad, may hear words of love, from their peers out there, because like I said, they are growing up in two different cultures in the same country. In their families is an African, oriented culture. And out there in schools and, meeting up with friends in their communities, they have a different culture altogether, which is the Western culture. So they might see their friends, talking about these kind of things, saying things like that, and they would want maybe the fathers of their friends saying it to their friends, and they would feel like there is a distance, and they would feel like their fathers could say such to them, or their uncles could say such to them. And seriously, when this silence is there, it creates a bit of a distance. Even if love is present in every action, people might not understand it. And that is why I am saying, is this something we should adopt or is this something we should break? For me, this is already a cultural tension, and this is where the diaspora, highlight the cultural tension, because most Nigerian men would never even imagine saying, I love you, bro. It's not shyness. It's not repression. It's simply not part of our masculinity. And this is not how they are taught, to show love. The thought of even saying, I love you, bro, don't even occur to them. So like, it has nothing to do with shyness. It has nothing to do with not caring for the other person. Nigerian men encounter these things and most of them kind of like dismiss it. It could be a normal thing, but the reaction is usually laughter, discomfort, or dismissal, not longing. Many people will not even say, oh yeah, I love you, bro, I'm longing to say it. Or if you even force yourself to say it, some people are going to be asking you, when did this start happen now? So because to them, loyalty, presence, sacrifice, is the same as showing love. So you have to show love in action. The words feel unnecessary. It's just three little words, and it feels so strange. Even to me as a woman, it feels so strange. We can see this in different angles. Maybe it could be a bit of masculinity, and misunderstanding. It could also be a little bit of patriarchy, because Nigerian men were born in a patriarchal society where they are seen as, power and strength, and it also could be, a bit of cultural upbringing. Let's break it down, one after the other. Let's start with cultural upbringing. Like I said, Nigerian boys learn that love is shown in action, responsibility, and being there, for each other, not words. When I started this episode, I was telling you that my father never said it, to his sons. His sons never even, say it to themselves, And another thing is that my brothers will, tease each other rather than, comfort each other. So words of affection are very much rare, So it is really very important for us to understand that. And teasing does not mean that they are laughing, at that person or they don't love that person. This is just how they grew up. This is just the upbringing. Now let's look at another angle. Like I said before, it could be a little bit awkward. It could be, like a kind of misunderstanding. For me as a woman, hearing this phrase like, I love you, man, I love you, it's just like me saying, I love you, girl, like to my fellow girl or girlfriend. And I would say, I love you, girl. Seriously, it's a little bit awkward to me, and it feels a little bit unnatural, even a little bit comical, because it's not my thing. It's not something we do, So it doesn't fit, into the emotional blueprint that, these people grow up with. So in a community, they grow up in a different way. And it's not something that you should hold, against them. Let's look at another angle. Masculinity code. Like I said before, Nigerian boys grew up in a patriarchal society where for them, the true definition of masculinity is strength, stoicism, and loyalty. So without these three codes, words, there is no masculinity. A man should be a man. So a man should show power. A man should show strength. A man should show himself as the provider, and not some kind of like, let me not use these words, vegetable, So it is not because they don't care, but because their cultural upbringing, and sense of masculinity all already, defined how they love and how they show love. So it's not something that for them, it is saying I love you is unnecessary, or even suspect. And real love is lived in action, not just by telling somebody, I love you, bro, This is why a diaspora Nigerian men may dismiss, this kind of verbal expression of affection, not because they don't care, but because their culture and upbringing and sense of masculinity already defined how love should be, and that is showing, being there for each other, showing respect, and always, helping out when the person needs you most. So for them, this is what love is. But the thing is that, with this generational shift, it's really a big deal. So let's view it this way. Things are slowly changing, Young Nigerian abroad, Gen Z, millennials, are more exposed to culture that normalize this kind of, affection and emotional vulnerability. There is social media on the other hand, there is also this therapy culture and this cross-cultural interaction, these things encourage them to express their feelings verbally. But the older generation, which is us, which are raised in Nigeria, we often see verbal expression in a different way. Like I said before, Nigerian men were brought up, with a different definition of masculinity. And I think we should just keep it the way it is, because for them, expressing their feelings, in a verbal way is an expression of, softness. Like, I don't think it's necessary. It's totally unnecessary, too Western, my opinion. But, you are also like, you can also give me your opinions because I am really open. Maybe I'm wrong in this aspect. Here is my standpoint. I don't need somebody, my fellow girlfriend, to tell me I love you, because for me, it's a little bit awkward. I don't want to change my family dynamics to fit, another culture, because in my house, I feel enough love, and they show me loyalty. They have sacrificed to me a lot, and they're always there for me when I need them. And that's how I feel every day. And for me, that is love 2.0. But I also believe that, if you feel it, say it. You want to say it to your fellow man, it's okay, but if you don't feel it, staying loyal and showing up when that person needs you most, and being present can mean a whole lot, more than what those three words can offer. Many people might argue that without words, these things, people's feelings towards the other person might be misunderstood. And this could create gap. This could create distance, because we are now having people, the Gen Z, generation, and this new generation, that are thought that expressing their feelings, in a verbal form is, means that, gives them assurance that yes, this person is there for them. But let's look at in a situation where we are living in the diaspora and many people don't carry their community along with them. They only carry the culture. Some people could say that yes, this could bring, distance, misunderstanding, between sons and fathers. This could also bring misunderstanding between friends, and even it could get to partners, living together, because you have to say I love you to someone. I am of the school of thought that if it's a woman, it's okay. It's somebody you love, you can say I love you. I am also of the opinion that even if it is a man, and you feel that you want to say it to the person, you can say it, whatever works for you. But one thing you have to have in mind is that Nigerians were not, when did not grow up like that. They were not created like that, and silence among them, doesn't mean that they don't care. It just means that love, I love you, is not spoken. It's a kind of like silent code. It's not spoken. And or if you understand it that way, you would know what kind of people you are dealing with. These people can go a long way to show you love. Like I said, when I am single, and I live alone in Germany, but I don't feel alone. I don't feel lonely and I don't feel alone. The reason being that I have my family, strongly behind me. Whenever I need them, I always it's just like, one phone call away, and they are always keeping in touch. So for me, that is love. Loyalty for me is love. Being there for me is love. In a situation where okay, let's be real here. In the Western world, I have seen people saying, I love you, I love you. I work in the hospital and they say, I love you, and your mother is in the hospital. 1 week, you still live in the same city with your mother. 1 week, you have not been there. 2 weeks, you are not there, and then you will also say, call on the phone and say, I love you. I am not that kind of person. And we Nigerians, we are not like that. We want to go there and see that person face to face, and for us, this is action and this is love. So in fact, many people would tell you that they are very, very lucky, having a Nigerian, as a friend, because they are always there, for you. So what really matters, words or presence? Yes. For me, what really matters is presence and not words. For me, the real measure of brotherhood is loyalty. It's showing up, protecting, providing, sacrificing. Those things speak louder than I love you. Words can be cheap. You can still say, I love you till tomorrow, and then no, that person disappears. Anyone can say them, anyone can tell you that till the next day. They can even send you flowers, but showing up consistently, being reliable, standing up for that person, that's love in its purest form. So yes, I don't need these three words, not even from my fellow girlfriend, and not even from my family. It's not necessary. My family can tell me that, but it's not necessary, because I would see it as a little bit awkward, but I respect men who say them. When you say it, I would expect, if I have a man in my life, if a man tells me I love you, it's really a very beautiful thing. I would, if that person really mean it, I would appreciate that. And I would also want to reciprocate, but saying it to my fellow girlfriend or saying it, or a man saying it to his fellow man, I don't think, it's necessary. Like I said, I respect men who stay but love through action. So maybe Nigerian men don't say, I love you, bro. Not because they lack love, but because love has always been measured differently for them. It is measured by loyalty, presence, and sacrifice. Silence can protect us, really, but it can also create misunderstanding. Words can heal, but they aren't, the only way to measure love. Like I said, I am of the opinion of both parts. If you feel it, say it. If you don't, then show it through action. At the end of the day, love is real only when it is felt. If I feel loved, then why do I have to expect someone to say it? Because I already know that, this person is showing me love through action. And that is why many women would say Nigerian men are providers. They care for their women, because this is the only way, they are taught to show love. So they have to provide, they have to spoil the woman, these people go a long way to do things, for their women. And so this is my challenge, to you. If you feel it, like I said before, say it. It's no problem. Just do whatever works for you. If you don't feel it, if you don't feel like saying it, show your own love, through action. Like they said, action speaks louder than voice, because the strongest love is not always spoken. It is the one you feel, the one, do you feel loved, So let me know in the comment section below. Have you ever experienced this kind of love before? Is it from a Nigerian man? Is this from somebody who is from a different culture? Do you feel awkward about it? When a fellow girl tells you, I love you, how do you feel? Let me know, because I might be wrong in this kind of, in this kind of contest. DM me, email me, write on the comment section below. Tell me what you think and let's talk about it. This has been the Diaspora Seat, and it is the part of Diaspora Series. I am your host, Micheline. Thank you for coming by once again. Stay healthy, stay beautiful, and I hope to see you guys on my next episode. Ciao.